Plenty of common garden plants are not major poison risks, and it is worth saying that before anything else, because this is not a video about ripping plants out of your yard in a panic. But there is a short list of common, genuinely beautiful plants, the kind stacked near the front door of the garden center every June, that can cause real harm when they end up in the wrong place. And the wrong place is almost never dramatic. It is the pot next to the dog's water bowl, the patio chair the grandkids climb on, the windowsill the cat patrols every morning. The plant does not change when it comes home with you. Its address does. There are 7 of them coming up, and one can hurt a cat without the cat ever taking a bite. I will come back to that one because it surprises even people who have kept cats for years. For each plant, I will tell you what the actual risk is, who in the house is most at risk, where it does not belong, and what you can plant instead that gives you the same look without the worry. Early summer is when this matters most. The carts are full again. People are buying patio pots, flowering shrubs, houseplants for the bright spot in the kitchen, something tall for the corner of the deck. At the same time, dogs and cats are spending more hours outside. Windows are open, and grandkids are visiting for the long days. More plants, more traffic around them. Here is the part that trips people up. A plant tag is written to sell the plant. It tells you the bloom color, the sun it wants, maybe the zone. It is not required to tell you whether the plant is dangerous to a dog, a cat, or a curious 2-year-old. So most tags simply do not. That is not a conspiracy. It is just not the tag's job, which means the checking falls to us. The good news is that the checking is fast, and I will show you a 30-second version at the end that settles it before a plant ever gets to the register. For now, keep one picture in your head as we go. Where in your home or yard will this plant actually sit? And who spends time at that exact spot? The first one is Oleander, and if you live anywhere across the warm southern half of the country, in roughly USDA zones 8 through 11, you have seen it without knowing its name. It is the big, glossy, fast-growing shrub covered in clusters of pink, white, or deep red flowers. The one that lines highways, fills median strips, and screens patios and pool fences from California through Texas to Florida. It looks like a piece of the Mediterranean dropped into an American backyard. And it earns its place on the sales floor honestly. It shrugs off heat and drought once established, grows quickly into a tall flowering hedge, and asks almost nothing of you. For a homeowner who wants a bold privacy screen without a weekend job attached, it is an easy yes. Here is what the tag will not mention. Every part of oleander is toxic if eaten. The leaves, the flowers, the stems, even the dried clippings. The plant contains cardiac glycosides, the same family of compounds used, in carefully measured medical doses, in heart medications. In a plant, there is no measured dose. The ASPCA lists oleander as toxic to dogs, cats, and horses, and it is one of the plants their poison control center hears about consistently. 2 details make it a placement problem more than a planting problem. First, the dried clippings can still be toxic, and they become a much easier target once they are lying on the ground where an animal can reach them. That is why trouble often shows up on trimming day, when fresh cuttings land where a dog, a horse, or a pony can reach. Second, the smoke matters. Those compounds are not destroyed by heat, so burning oleander clippings is not a safe way to get rid of them. So where does it not belong? I would not put oleander tight against a patio where guests brush past it, around a pool deck where kids hang out, or anywhere near a pasture or a dog run. And on trimming day, bag the clippings and put them in the trash. Do not leave them in a pile by the fence, and do not burn them. If you love that big, flowering Mediterranean look, and you have pets or grandkids in the picture, crepe myrtle is the swap I would reach for. It gives you the same long, showy summer bloom and the same heat and drought toughness in warm zones. It grows as a large shrub or a small tree, and the ASPCA lists it as non-toxic to dogs and cats. A pet-safe hibiscus, checked by its exact species, can fill a similar flowering role too. With big, dramatic blooms, hummingbirds work all summer. Same impact by the patio, without the part you would rather not explain to a vet. The next one is the plant I would move first if you have a dog. It is the sago palm, and it is not actually a palm at all. It is an ancient cycad, but you would never know that from the nursery, where it is sold as a tidy, sculptural little palm with a stout trunk and a crown of stiff, glossy green fronds. Landscapers across Florida, Texas, Georgia, Louisiana, and the rest of the Gulf Coast install them by the hundreds, often right by an entry or a pool, because they hold their shape year-round, take heat and drought, and look expensive. You will also find small ones sold as indoor bonsai all over the country. The horticulture is not the problem. The problem is what is inside. Every part of the sago palm is toxic to dogs and cats, and the seeds carry the highest concentration of a compound called psychocin, which attacks the liver. Veterinary sources are blunt about this one. The ASPCA notes that the entire plant is toxic and 1 or 2 seeds can be fatal. This is not a wait-and-see plant if a dog chews it. The seeds are the trap. On a mature female plant, they are round, smooth, often orange, and they drop to the ground and fall, where a dog finds them at nose level and treats them like any other object worth chewing. There is no smell or color that says danger to an animal. Here is a confusion worth clearing up, because it sends people into a panic over the wrong plant. The airy, feathery palm most people worry about indoors is usually the areca palm, and the areca palm is on the ASPCA's non-toxic list. It is the sago, the stiff little look-alike, that is the real concern. If you keep a sago, the placement rule is simple. Keep it well away from where a dog roams, and if it is a seed-producing plant, patrol underneath it for fallen seeds, especially in fall. Honestly, in a house with a dog, I would rather not gamble on it at all. For the same tropical feathery look, an areca palm outdoors in warm zones, or a parlor palm or majesty palm indoors in a bright room gives you the same feel and is listed as non-toxic to dogs and cats. You get the resort patio look without keeping a liver hazard at ground level. Now the one I promised, the plant that can hurt a cat without the cat ever taking a bite. It is the lily. And the most important thing here is which lily, because the name gets used loosely and the difference is life and death for a cat. The dangerous ones are true lilies, the genus Lilium, which includes Easter lilies, tiger lilies, Asiatic, Oriental, and stargazer lilies, and day lilies, the genus Hemerocallis, the orange and yellow ones that come back in ditches and front beds every summer. For cats, these are about as serious as a plant gets. Every part is toxic to a cat. The petals, the leaves, the stem, the pollen, and even the water in the vase. A cat does not have to eat it. Pollen drifts onto the fur, the cat grooms, and that is the exposure. The result can be sudden kidney failure, and the window to get help is narrow. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the ASPCA both put true lily exposure at the very top of the list for cat emergencies. One detail that catches people off guard. This is a cat problem specifically. Dogs that eat a true lily usually get an upset stomach, not kidney failure. The kidney danger is feline. Here is the part that saves a lot of confusion. Plenty of plants wear the word lily without being true lilies, and they do not carry this kidney risk. Peace lily and calla lily are in a different family. They can irritate a mouth, but they do not shut down kidneys. Peruvian lily, the Alstroemeria you see in grocery bouquets, is not a true lily either. Lily of the Valley is its own separate problem, a heart toxin, so do not treat that one as safe. But the rule for cat owners is clean. Any lilium, any daylily, does not belong in a home or a bouquet where a cat lives. Every Easter and Mother's Day, beautiful lily arrangements arrive on kitchen counters in homes with cats. And the people who gave them had no idea. If a lily bouquet shows up and you have a cat, the safest move is to send it right back out the door, to a neighbor without cats, or to the trash. If you want that tall, elegant, fills-the-room look in a home with a cat, the swaps are easy, and the ASPCA lists them as non-toxic. Roses, sunflowers, snapdragons, and orchids all give you height, drama, and color in a vase with none of the kidney risk. For the garden, that is the case where I would skip daylilies entirely if a cat, yours or a neighbor's, wanders the yard. The fourth one is the plant that turns an ordinary flower bed into a magazine photo, and that is exactly why it keeps coming home in the cart. Foxglove sends up tall spires of tubular flowers in purple, pink, cream, and white, with those speckled throats that look hand-painted. Bees climb right inside them, and the plant self-seeds, so it tends to come back on its own and fill the vertical space in a border that most plants cannot reach. Nurseries across the cooler parts of the country sell flats of it every spring on looks alone. Inside those flowers is digitalis, another cardiac glycoside, and in fact, the original plant source of a famous heart medication. The veterinary reference books rank Oleander and Foxglove among the most toxic of this whole group. Every part is toxic if eaten, including the water from a vase of cut stems, and it is a concern for dogs, cats, and people. Two things make it a placement issue. Children are drawn to those tube-shaped flowers. They are exactly the right size and shape for small hands and curious mouths. And gardeners who work around it barehanded and then touch their face can pick up a reaction. So it is a gloves-on plant when you are cutting or pulling it. So I would not plant foxglove along a path where a toddler or a visiting grandchild picks flowers. And I would keep cut stems out of any arrangement in a house with a cat or a young child. If you let it self-seed, just know where the new plants are turning up. For that same tall, vertical cottage garden line in the border, snapdragons are the cleanest, pet-safer swap. And the ASPCA lists common snapdragon as non-toxic to dogs and cats. Native penstemons, including foxglove beard tongue, can give you that same upright tubular flower look for pollinators and hummingbirds, but still check the exact species if pets chew plants in your yard. You keep the drama at the back of the bed and lose the part you would have to warn the grandkids about. If this is the kind of plant advice you wish came printed on the tag, the look you want plus the warning the label leaves off, that is the whole idea behind this channel. Subscribe and you will get more of it. The fifth plant moves us indoors, and it is one of the best-selling houseplants in the country for a reason. Dieffenbachia, most people know it as dumb cane, has big, glossy leaves, splashed with cream and pale green. It tolerates low light and irregular watering, and it fills an empty corner with the kind of lush, tropical look that makes a room feel finished and expensive. Offices buy it by the pot. New homeowners grab it because it is nearly impossible to kill. The catch is in the sap. The leaves and stems are packed with tiny, needle-shaped calcium oxalate crystals. When a pet or a child chews a leaf, those crystals get released into the lining of the mouth and throat and cause immediate burning, pain, and swelling, along with drooling and sometimes trouble swallowing. The common name comes from exactly that, because the swelling can briefly affect speech. I want to be straight with you about the severity because the honest picture matters here. In most cases, this is painful rather than life-threatening, and the sharp sting tends to stop a pet from eating much more. But the mouth and throat swelling can occasionally be serious, and it lands hardest on toddlers and cats. Poison control centers and the ASPCA hear about this plant a lot, mostly because of where it sits, on a low table, a windowsill, the floor, right where small mouths reach. The same crystals are in a whole group of easy houseplants: philodendron, pothos, peace lily, calla lily. So the placement rule covers all of them. In a home with a cat or a crawling toddler, I would not keep dumb cane at tabletop or floor level. In a room pets and toddlers cannot access, it is a different conversation. And if you get sap on your hands while cleaning the leaves, keep it away from your eyes. If you want that same full, leafy, tropical presence indoors without the worry, a parlor palm, a Boston fern, a spider plant, or a calathea, all red as lush and green, and the ASPCA lists them as non-toxic to dogs and cats. Same corner, same look, nothing to manage. The sixth one is the most dramatic plant on the list to look at, and the one I would keep farthest from any garden where children play. Castor bean grows fast, 6 to 10 feet in a single summer in much of the country, with huge, star-shaped leaves in deep green or bronze red, and bold, spiky seed pods that look almost architectural. Seed catalogs sell it to northern gardeners as an instant tropical statement, and from a pure look standpoint, it delivers. The seeds are the issue, and I'm going to keep this part simple on purpose. Castor seeds contain ricin, which is among the most toxic substances found in any plant sold through ordinary garden channels. The ASPCA lists the plant as toxic to dogs, cats, and people. There is no home remedy and no antidote, and medical care is about supporting the body, not reversing the poison. What makes it a real-world danger rather than a theoretical one is the seeds themselves. They are large, smooth, and patterned in a way that looks, to a small child, like something collectible or like candy. A few states actively discourage growing it for this reason. So this is the one where I would skip the placement workarounds and just keep it out of any yard that kids visit. If you already grow it and you have grandkids or pets around, the safest approach is to cut the flower spikes off before they ever form seed pods, and wear gloves when you handle the plant. For the same big, bold, tropical foliage drama in a border or a large pot, canna is the swap I would point you to. Canna gives you that same dramatic leaf in green, bronze, and burgundy. Plus bright flowers from midsummer to frost, it performs as a perennial in warm zones and a summer annual up north, and the ASPCA lists it as non-toxic to dogs and cats. You get the jungle look at the back of the bed, and nothing a curious child could mistake for a treat. The last plant on the main list is the one you almost certainly already have, or your neighbor does. Azaleas and rhododendrons are among the top-selling landscape shrubs in the country, the ones that explode into coral, pink, red, white, and purple across front yards every spring from Virginia to Oregon. They have been planted around American houses for so long that most people assume something this common and this familiar must be harmless. It mostly is, for people casually walking past. For dogs, it is a different story. Azaleas and rhododendrons contain compounds called grayanotoxins, found in the leaves, the flowers, and even the nectar. The ASPCA lists them among the more common causes of dog poisoning calls, especially in the eastern half of the country. A dog that chews the leaves can get vomiting, drooling, weakness, and a wobbly, depressed state. And in serious cases, it affects the heart. There is a strange, true footnote that tells you how potent these compounds are. Honey made by bees working heavy stands of rhododendron can carry enough grayanotoxin to make people sick. It even has a name, mad honey, and documented cases go back to ancient times. You do not need to worry about your breakfast honey from the store, but it is a real illustration of what is in those flowers. The placement pattern here is the same one that keeps showing up: clippings. Azalea trouble for dogs tends to spike in spring, during the weeks people are pruning, when fresh cuttings land in parts of the yard where a dog moves freely. An established shrub a dog ignores becomes a pile of chewable leaves the moment you trim it. So if you keep azaleas, and plenty of us will, the rule is to clean up every clipping after you prune and keep them out of the dog's reach. If you would rather plant something with that same dense spring flowering and no pet caveat, viburnum is a strong swap. Clusters of white or pink spring flowers, berries that feed birds, good fall color, and the ASPCA lists it as non-toxic to dogs and cats. Spirea and Weigela fill a similar flowering shrub role and are considered pet-safe as well. Same spring color along the foundation, one less thing to think about on pruning day. Before the quick checklist, 3 more worth knowing about, fast. Monkshood, sometimes called wolfsbane or aconite, is a tall, dramatic late-season perennial with deep blue, hooded flowers that fill a gap in the border after summer fades. It is genuinely beautiful and genuinely serious. The whole plant is toxic, and the North Carolina Extension Service flatly recommends wearing gloves to handle it. If you grow it, treat it as a gloves-on plant every single time. Wash your hands after and keep it well away from anyone, 2-legged or 4, who might taste it. Philodendron belongs in the same conversation as dumb cane. It is in millions of homes, in hanging baskets and on shelves, and it carries the same calcium oxalate crystals, so the same mouth and throat irritation applies. Keep it up where a cat or a toddler cannot reach it. And hydrangea, one of the most popular shrubs in the country, has flower buds and leaves that contain cyanogenic compounds. It usually takes a fair amount of chewing to cause real trouble. But if you have got a dog that likes to graze, it is worth keeping them away from the lower foliage. So how do you actually use all of this without memorizing a single toxin? Here is the 30-second version, and it works at the garden center before anything gets to the register. First, find the scientific name on the plant tag, the italic Latin one, like Cycas revoluta or Lilium. Common names lie, the scientific name does not. Type that name into your phone along with the word ASPCA. The ASPCA keeps a free, searchable list of toxic and non-toxic plants for dogs, cats, and horses. And that one search gives you a real answer before you buy. Second, keep the tag or snap a photo of it so you can identify the plant later if you ever need to. Third, before you decide where it goes, crouch down to dog height or toddler height in that spot and look around. Notice what is actually there: the water bowl, the patio chair, the windowsill the cat owns, the corner where the grandkids play. The plant is not dangerous sitting on a shelf in the garage. It becomes a risk based on where it lives. And if you ever think a pet or a person has eaten part of a plant, do not sit and wait for symptoms. Call your veterinarian or the ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center at 1-888-4264-435. And keep in mind a consultation fee may apply. Or the Pet Poison Helpline at 1-855-764-7661. For a person, the U.S. Poison Helpline is 1-800-222-1222. It is free and it is staffed around the clock. Do not try to treat it at home. With most of these plants, how fast you get guidance matters more than anything else. I will leave you with one thing to do and one question. The thing to do: pick the one plant sitting closest to your patio, your back door, or the windowsill your cat patrols, and run its name through that ASPCA check tonight. Just one. The question, for the comments: tell me what is growing closest to where your pets and your people actually spend time, and whether you have got a dog, a cat, or grandkids who visit. If you are not sure what one of your plants even is, drop the name and I will help you figure out where it belongs. None of this is about fear. And it is definitely not about tearing out every pretty thing you own. Almost every plant on this list can stay in your world. It just needs to live somewhere your dog, your cat, or a curious 2-year-old cannot get to it, or get swapped for the look-alike that gives you the same beauty without the warning label. A gorgeous yard and a safe one were never really a trade-off. You just have to know which plants need a better address. If you want more plant advice that comes with the warning label and not just the pretty picture, that is what this channel is for. Subscribe.